Venezuela is among the most populated countries in South America, with an estimated population of approximately 28 million people. It is bordered by other populous countries like Brazil and Colombia, and its capital, Caracas, a popular metropolis, is home to roughly 2 million inhabitants. As a result of the implemented populist policies, a major economic crisis has been rocking Venezuela for years and has resulted in hyperinflation, food and water shortages, increased unemployment, and increased violence rates. What led one of the most prosperous countries to this situation? Did it happen overnight? Of course not. For years, Venezuela has been caught in a relentless cycle of political and humanitarian crises, subjecting its citizens to unimaginable suffering. The struggle for control over the country has intensified their hardships, pushing them into dire conditions like those experienced in war zones. Venezuela, with its abundant oil reserves, serves as a cautionary tale of the perils that come with relying too heavily on one resource. Since the discovery of oil in the 1920s, the country has experienced breathtaking highs and perilous lows. However, recent years have witnessed an economic collapse, with oil output declining to its lowest levels in decades. Diving deeper into the crisis, we confront one of its most devastating consequences: hyperinflation. In 2018, annual inflation soared to over 130,000%, resulting in a sharp devaluation of the national currency. Excessive money printing to finance fiscal deficits and government spending has outpaced the production of goods and services, leading to widespread scarcity of essential items like food, medicine, and hygiene products. The middle class, once a pillar of Venezuelan society, has been hit hard, watching their income and savings evaporate, ultimately resulting in a shrinking middle class and a widening wealth gap. On top of these challenges, Venezuela carries an estimated debt burden of $150 billion or more. Between 2014 and 2021, Venezuela's gross domestic product (GDP) shrank by a staggering 3/4. However, there have been glimpses of hope, with the economy experiencing a 6% growth in 2022 and experts forecasting further growth of 6.5% in 2023. So, how did Venezuela find itself in this dire situation? The answer is simple. If a country strikes oil or another resource before it develops its state infrastructure, the curse is much harder to avoid. The oil and gas industries are the most profitable industries of the country. Venezuela has the largest crude oil reserves worldwide, but the country's oil production has plummeted in recent years, falling from 2.84 to 0.54 million barrels per day between 2010 and 2020. Oil experts are expected to finance almost 2/3 of the government's budget in 2023, a slightly higher proportion compared to the previous year. So, the lack of diversification in the economy and the missed opportunities to invest in other sectors have left the country overly dependent on oil revenues, amplifying the economic crisis. The situation has also made Venezuela vulnerable to external shocks, such as fluctuations in oil prices. The oil price plunge from more than $100 per barrel in 2014 to under $30 per barrel in early 2016 sent Venezuela into an economic and political spiral. Although there has been some recent recovery in oil prices, but conditions remain bleak. Unsurprisingly, political factors and mismanagement have played a significant role in this crisis. Over the past decade, President Nicolas Maduro and his allies have violated democratic principles to maintain their grip on power. Arbitrary arrests, detentions, and restrictions on internet access became common practices in the country. Unfortunately, Maduro's focus has been on consolidating power rather than implementing much-needed structural changes to fix the economy. These factors, combined with international sanctions and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, have resulted in a devastating humanitarian crisis characterized by severe shortages of basic necessities like food, water, gasoline, and medical supplies. Former opposition leader Juan Guaido's attempt to overthrow Maduro's government with the backing of the United States has only worsened the situation. Despite initially gaining recognition as Venezuela's legitimate interim president, Guaido, the opposition ultimately failed to seize power, leaving the country in a state of impasse. The Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela is among the most corrupt countries in the world. Two-thirds of the country believes the president and all his staff were involved in corruption. Tariq El-Aissami has resigned as Venezuela's oil minister after a wave of arrests for alleged corruption at the state-owned oil company. It's unclear whether the arrests signal an internal power struggle within the regime. But El-Aissami, an influential confidant of Nicolas Maduro, is likely an important piece of the puzzle. Corruption, government policies, and misallocation of resources have further compounded the economic catastrophe. Currency controls, price controls, and nationalizations have hindered growth and created market distortions. Rampant corruption and embezzlement of public funds have drained resources that could have been used for infrastructure development and social programs. Mismanagement of state-owned enterprises, including the national oil company, has exacerbated the crisis. Additionally, Venezuela has faced international sanctions imposed by various countries and organizations due to concerns over human rights abuses and electoral irregularities. These sanctions have limited the country's ability to trade, obtain financing, and attract foreign investment, deepening the economic crisis and increasing the suffering of its people. As a result of these dire circumstances, over 7 million Venezuelans have fled their homeland, seeking refuge in neighboring countries and beyond. While some governments have provided temporary residency to these refugees, the pandemic has forced approximately 150,000 migrants to return home after losing their jobs in other Latin American countries. Decades of poor governance have brought Venezuela, once one of Latin America's most prosperous countries, to the brink of economic and political ruin. The challenges ahead are immense, and the path to recovery is uncertain. However, it is essential to confront these difficult realities, learn from past mistakes, and work towards a better future for the people of Venezuela. Only through genuine reforms, international cooperation, and a collective commitment to human dignity can this nation rise from the ashes and rebuild itself into a prosperous and resilient society. In the face of such adversity, Venezuela stands at a crossroads. The challenges it faces are not insurmountable, but they require bold and visionary leadership, both domestically and internationally. The fate of this once prosperous nation hangs in the balance, and the decisions made today will shape its future for generations to come. To overcome the economic crisis, Venezuela must diversify its economy and reduce its heavy dependence on oil. It needs to foster innovation, invest in other sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, and technology, and create an environment conducive to attracting foreign investment. This will require sweeping reforms, transparency, and an end to the corruption that has plagued the country for far too long. Moreover, Venezuela must restore democratic principles and respect for human rights. The suppression of political opponents, restrictions on freedom of expression, and erosion of democratic institutions have undermined the fabric of society. A return to true democracy with free and fair elections will help rebuild trust and legitimacy, both internally and internationally. The international community also has a role to play. It is crucial for countries and organizations to provide humanitarian aid to alleviate the suffering of the Venezuelan people. Sanctions should be reevaluated and tailored to minimize their impact on ordinary citizens while maintaining pressure on those responsible for human rights abuses and corruption. Collaborative efforts, regional partnerships, and diplomatic dialogue can pave the way for a comprehensive and sustainable solution. Venezuela's economic crisis is a complex web of intertwined factors, from oil dependence and mismanagement to political repression and international sanctions. However, within this darkness lies an opportunity for transformation and renewal. The people of Venezuela, resilient and determined, deserve a future that is prosperous, just, and free. It is time for all stakeholders to come together, embrace the challenges head-on, and forge a path toward a brighter tomorrow. Only then can Venezuela reclaim its rightful place as a beacon of hope and prosperity in South America. Let's hope for a better future for Venezuela. We hope you liked this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments section below. See you in the next video with some more interesting content. Until then, stay tuned.